Nick, thank you for joining us. Last week you made your 100th appearance for Crawley Town Football Club, so we thought this would be a good time to sort of sit down and look over what has been, a pretty crazy few years for yourself. Obviously, you joined back in 2020. That feels like a lifetime ago that you signed alongside Max Waters. When you signed for us, did you ever imagine that you'd reach 100 appearances all these years later?
I don't know about imagine. I mean, I always hoped. It's a great achievement, for a club that I'm, really connected with and, started off. I'm really proud of it.
Yeah, I suppose touching on that, it is a great achievement and it's not something that can be overlooked. Ben Gladwin's a great pro, and I remember me, you, him, and I think it was Lawrence Maguire found ourselves in a room at the hotel before the Notts County League match, and we all spoke about how it was about to be your 100th appearance, and for someone like Ben to even go, that's a really good achievement.
Yeah.
It speaks volumes, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
it can't be overlooked, can it?
No, I mean, especially, you've got someone like Ben Gladwin who's experienced as he is, recognising that. It's a proud moment. Everyone who's in football knows how hard it is, how mentally tough it can be. And it's just, it's nice to look back on the journey and reflect of, the good points, the bad points, and, everything that I've learned. Sort of how I've grown, from the first game to, to the 100th, and, as a player and a person is something that I'm really proud of.
Yeah, well, I want to take you back to the very start. I mean, it does feel like years ago. I mean, I was obviously here as well, and I often think about how long ago it feels. How did the move to Crawley come about? Because obviously you joined a little bit later. It was in the October that you joined. Take us back to sort of where the interest came from. Your first impressions.
Yeah. It was the COVID year. So I was training by myself for quite a bit. This opportunity came about to do a trial. So I came down. I think it was against Watford 23s. I played the whole game in that. Unfortunately, because it was just out for so long, I picked up a little injury. And to be fair, the gaffer at the time stuck with me. He said, go get yourself better and come back. He obviously saw something, which I'm forever grateful for. I came back, and rest is history.
Yeah, and it was in the October. I remember we announced you the day that we played Cheltenham when we were doing Talk of the Town. As you said, it was the COVID season. Nobody was at the grounds. I think some would probably regard that as the best double signing this club has ever made. You had yourself, who's gone on to make 100 appearances, become club legend. You've properly cemented yourself in this club's history. Yeah. And you had Max, who was only with us for half a season, and then being sold, and he's gone on to have great things. Yeah. Obviously you signed alongside him. I bet you could have never imagined what's happened. This happened since
I bet
then.
the fans didn't imagine.
No.
Like I said, I'm really proud, and I try so hard to make the fans happy, and it's special that a club that means a lot, I've been able to give back, make them happy, and amazing moments, not only for myself but for them, and for this club, and I'll forever be connected with Crawley Town, so it's brilliant.
Yeah, and I suppose because you signed in the October, it's obviously a little bit later than the other signings that year, so you had to sort of wait patiently for your chance. Yeah. Can you sort of talk us through the processes? Was it frustrating at the start, having to sort of wait and bide your time really?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where the mental toughness and mental resilience comes in, and I feel like it's something that I was born with, but also something that I've really worked hard, really studied, and really put a lot of effort into, to keep that mind strong, as strong as anyone. So, yeah, I always knew it's not going to be easy. There was never a red carpet rolled out for me. Wherever I've been, I've always had to fight and scrape and claw and and fight for everything that I've got. So that's why every single one of those games of the 100 mean a lot to me, because nothing was given, everything was earned. So yeah, I'm really proud.
Yeah, and I suppose obviously you're still young now, but at that point you were even younger, and at that at that stage we had a very experienced team, didn't we? There was a lot of sort of senior figures in the team, so it was, as you say, it was never going to be as easy as walking into the team. You really had to fight, and I suppose that's what you just said, you can take so much pride in that, knowing that you had to fight so hard to get into the team.
Yeah, 100%. It's been great as well, learning off people. You can see that as an opportunity. There was a lot of experience here, and I was the young one at the time, so it was nice I was like a sponge, really soaking in every little detail, and seeing how can I be the best me possible, because I always felt that if I am the best me possible, I will be able to to play as hopefully as many games as I have done, and hopefully many more.
Yeah, and it was slow. It was a slow process. You worked your way into the side. You got a few appearances. I think you were up to 7 by the time that we got to January.
Yeah.
And we all know what happened in the January. That was just a crazy time for obviously yourself and the football club. In the weeks building up to that Leeds game, did you have an inkling that you were going to be starting the game? Had the manager spoken to you? What was the feeling like in the build up to that game?
He did at the time, and yeah, I remember the night before. I don't think I had more than an hour of consecutive sleep, to be honest with you. So it was. I knew a lot of people were going to be watching. It was live, BBC, COVID. Everyone's at home, locked up. So I really wanted to go out and do the best that I can, but I would never have predicted what happened. That goal is something that forever ever live with me. I don't know how I'm going to be able to top it, to be honest. I think after 7 games I've kind of ruined the bar, because it's so high. I don't think anything's going to reach that, just because of how much it meant to me, and obviously to the club and the fans, and just the whole day was so special. And like I said, it's something that will be in Crawley Town's history forever, and I'm so proud and grateful for that.
Yeah, and I suppose pre-match, obviously, as we spoke about already, you were building your way into the side. No one really knew what side was going to be picked that day. From both teams, from us and Leeds. Live on the BBC, there was always the potential of an upset, but what happened was incredible. And I remember the rumours in the press box of people. We had people like John Motson, who was on commentary. Legends in the media sort of area at the game, and they were all saying, this Nick Tsaroulla's not had many appearances, and I don't think many people expected what to happen.
They didn't.
No, they didn't, and that made it. It was magic, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It made it almost so much better, and I think that bit of commentary is going to be stuck with the club forever. When you did stick in that corner. I mean, the move itself was incredible, because it wasn't like you just tapped one in at the back post either, was it? I mean, you picked it up. You've dribbled past Calvin Phillips, who's now had, a mental move to Man City, played for England, and there's some great pictures of it. Just talk us through the feeling of that goal and, the initial emotion after it hit the back of the net.
I mean, firstly, like you said, when everyone was doubting, not only myself, but us, and it's something that I loved, because I carry this of just proving people wrong. Been doing that my whole life, will continue to do it, and, the gaffer at the time really installed that into the group as well. Let's go out and, let's prove people wrong. But yeah, that goal, I get asked, and it was just a blackout, to be honest. I just felt like when the ball hit that net, the only way I can describe was almost like a out-of-body feeling and like a resurrection. That's how I describe it, as like I just sort of came back from the dead, and yeah, it's just it was so good. I ain't gonna cry now. I'm not crying now, but yeah, everyone knows that interview after. But yeah, that goal is so special, and I still look back to it now. It will never get old for me. I don't care how old I am, whatever happens in this game. I'll never stop looking back at that goal. It was brilliant.
Yeah, how long did it take to sort of sink in? Was it at any point during the game? Because that was obviously the first goal, and I can imagine you probably then got distracted by the fact that Nadders and obviously Jordan stuck one in after that.
Came so quick.
Yeah, was it after the game that you sort of went like, wow, that really happened?
No, I think straight after I was like, oh my God, what has just happened? Like, did that really just happen? Like, what have I done? So it was kind of hard to focus on the game. And then obviously Nadders got that goal straight away, which was a good goal. Tunny as well. So it kind of just like, we hit them so quick, and to keep a clean sheet as well. They had put a strong team out. They had a lot of world-class players out there. I think just the whole day in general, but it still doesn't feel real, to be honest. I walk past and I'm so blessed. There's the photos in the hallway. There's a few of them actually, hiding on display in the ground. And every time I look past it, I think, that's me. Like, really? Like, it still doesn't feel real, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, Leeds did have a really strong team out. As we already said, you've dribbled it past and absolutely destroyed Calvin Phillips. You've scored past Casilla, who had just signed from Real Madrid. Like, it's not, you don't look back at it and go, it was just they're underrated. Like, it was a strong side.
Yeah.
And the whole day was, absolutely incredible. And was it almost, a relief when Nadders and Jordan scored, because at any point in your mind were you thinking, I don't want this to go down as nothing as I score and then Leeds go and win 2-1 and all of a sudden everyone, is it sort of just like, I'm a part of this history now?
Yeah. I think the main thing is that we won. I mean, like I said, clean sheet, 3-0. But I think we hit them, they were so shocked. We hit them with 3 consecutive goals so quick. They just were stunned. You got the so-called little boys, against, the big boys. And, like I said, I've been proving people wrong. And so have we as a collective. That group was a special group, people, I've made friends from that group and learnt off of so many of them. And, they helped me a lot, grow as a person and as a player. And, just that day is crazy. It's one that I'll never, ever forget.
That day was crazy. What followed that in the days coming was no easier. I mean, obviously, we know about the interview, you've already mentioned it, the one after the game. I remember at the time having to call you or text you every 5 minutes saying, Nick, I'm really sorry. Like, BBC 5 Live want to speak to you, BBC News want to speak to you, the local papers want to speak to you. I mean, I was doing it, I remember texting randomly Tom Nichols at about 5 a.m. the day after, because Dan Walker from BBC had phoned me, woke me up, said, anyone fancy coming on? Like, sorry we couldn't organise this last night. And texting Nico, and he was just like, I'm awake, I can't sleep. Like,
everyone was awake.
Believe it. It's like, I'll do it, mate, I'll jump on. And, for someone who had only just broke into the team, and as we said, had only made 7 appearances before that, was that sort of just like a big shock to you, like all the attention now on yourself and the club?
I don't know. I feel like I tried to handle it as best as I could. Just was so proud of not only myself but the team as well. It was a real good team performance. Obviously that moment does get highlighted because it was a moment of magic. But structurally, how strong we were from the back. We defended as a unit. But I mean, after I think it brought light as well to other people's journeys. Tunnicliffe spoke about his journey. Nada spoke about his. Nico, all these. People don't realise football's hard. It makes life hard, and you go through tough times. But tough times make tough people, and I think we had a real tough group who have been through the wars and had their scars, but were able to really show them all that day. So I think that kind of made the day bigger and more made me more proud, because not only myself but everyone was able to show their battle scars and tell their story, and I feel like it gave inspiration to young boys and and girls looking up and thinking, okay, well, they've been through this, so when I'm going through a tough time, I know that they made it through, so maybe I can.
I summed up brilliantly by yourself there. And I suppose in that team, you mentioned it there, you had people in different parts of their journey, hadn't you, in football? You'd had the likes of Tony Craig, who we all know went on to have
legend,
still playing, legend of the game. He's played over 750 career appearances, at the tail end of his footballing career, and that's still probably, I imagine, one of his favourite memories from from his time. And you had other senior players like George, and you've had players like yourself who've gone on to do great things with this club. Other obviously players have moved on, and Tunny at Wrexham, who obviously we saw in the season. People like Glenn, obviously again at the end of his career. Still probably one of his proudest moments, and it was that group at the time was probably the perfect group to almost play a game of that size, wasn't it? I think.
It had a real mix. It had a real mix of experience, youth, and we had a real strong team, and that was a real enjoyable period of mine. Yeah,
and it only got better from there for yourself. Obviously, burst onto the scene in that manner. It was pretty impressive, and then you went on to have a great season after that, and then obviously it was difficult because you hadn't actually met the fans properly, only online. But I suppose it was obviously still a great season for us. Just looking back on those memories, and you finished it with the Young Player of the Year award, and despite having not met the fans yet, you'd obviously made a real impression, and they voted you for such a great award.
Like I said, these fans hold a very special place in my heart, and I'll forever be connected with them and the club, and they mean so much to me. So I feel like it does give me that extra drive that when I'm out there, it's not always so selfishly that you want to do well for yourself and also for the team, for the gaffer, but also for them, and they give you that extra boost. I don't want to let these guys down. I want to send them home with a smile on their face. So they're brilliant. I love them all.
Yeah, and I can imagine winning an award was great recognition. And as you said, you'd come through a fairly tough period of your life, and at that point, did you really think like, this is a club that I'm settled at now? You know, I'm really happy here, and you know, we're just looking forward to the future.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, you know, to quickly come on and, you know, to make an impact that I did, and then win those awards at the end of the season was something that, you know, it's something that I'm really proud of, and you know, no one can ever take that away, and it's something that, you know, that always be there, because I really had to fight and earn that, and you know, to gain recognition so quickly from the fans, you know, and get that award was really cool.
Yeah, and then to top that, obviously the season after, you were finally able to meet the fans in person. Obviously, we know they're very interactive on social media, so I'm sure you had conversations with them over the course of that COVID season. And to top that, I think it was maybe inside the first 5 games, you scored 2 pretty dramatic winners in like the 90th minute in front of the terrace.
Yeah.
In similar sort of style you did. I mean, the Carlisle game sticks out at the volley. I mean, that still gets played obviously on the hype video as well before you know every game here. You know, it's had some pretty special goals, haven't you?
I have, yeah. I mean, I think it kind of gets a bit overlooked because of the Leeds goal, but that Carlisle one, it was so cool. Like, I mean, it was one of my first games in front of the fans. You know, we conceded late, and the ball came, you know, volley on the edge of the box, and then the celebration was so funny. You know, shirt had to come off. Shocking knee slide. Just think my kneecaps are still in the ground actually. And then going in and, you know, hugging the fans and just seeing that raw passion and emotion of like how much it means to them. You know, not only to myself and the team, but you know, you can see it in their eyes. And you know, it was my first real, you know, interaction with them, and it was like, wow, like this is what football means to people, and you know, to give them a moment like that is you know, is wicked.
Yeah, and I suppose for you, it is, you know, based on the career that you'd had before, obviously being with Tottenham, and it must have been one of your first experiences of, as you say, scoring a goal in front of that many fans. Yeah. Obviously, with the COVID season, there was no other than the 2 brief games. There was, you know, you wouldn't have experienced anything like that, so I can imagine that was just an incredible feeling.
Yeah, it definitely was, because you know, it's more about development. You know, the academies, and you might play in front of a few people, but no one's really there rooting for you guys to win. You know, they're paying money to come and see you guys win, and you know, when you see that passion, it is something that, you know, that drives me and drives the team as well. So yeah, it was nice to get that, you know, that taste of the experience.
Yeah, and you know, you've gone on to do great things with the club, and you've experienced some highs, and then there was also been like some lows. We spoke multiple times about how tough last season was, and I think you mentioned it earlier in the interview. You almost topped what you did with the Leeds game, but then did it almost help you grow like as a professional, having to then learn, you know, and go through the experiences not only with yourself, with the team, with the fans, you know, us as staff. You know, with last season, obviously we know how difficult it was, and it ended in a brilliant way up at Hartlepool. Yeah. How rounded do you think that experience has made you as a professional?
Massive. To go through something like that with so much pressure, handle it, you know, not only as an individual, but be a part of a collective day in, day out for the whole season was incredibly tough. But probably one of my proudest seasons, to be honest. Just the mental character, the fight it took, not only for myself, but the whole team, the staff. You know, going through what we went through, and you know, the amount of pressure that it all led up to on one day. I feel like stuff like Leeds sort of set me up for that day at Hartlepool, where I felt very calm, very relaxed, and was able to go out there. And I feel like we all really enjoyed ourselves. You know, I really enjoyed myself out there, you know, in such a game where, you know, people's, you know, jobs are on the line, and you know, the fans are, you know, they don't want to see, you know, because I'm a fan of this club as well, you don't want to see it go down. So there was a lot of pressure, but it was nice to just, you know, absorb it all, really feel it, really, you know, live in that moment. And it's a story to tell. You know, that season is you know, it's a chapter that, you know, I can tell, you know, my kids one day, and you know, you know, it doesn't matter how sort of bad it may seem going, you keep fighting as a collective. And yeah, we very proud to say we came through at the end. So it's definitely a proud season, that one.
Yeah, and it was turbulent. You know, nobody can disagree with that. Obviously, we had our fair share of managers until Scott came in and sort of settled it. And you mentioned there, fighting as a collective. There's a really good clip. I'm sure we'll put it over the top of this interview. It's away at Stevenage, and it was at that point where I think some fans had almost made them, and understandably so,
Yeah.
perhaps made their mind up and thought, right, we could be in some serious trouble here. Like, we've all, but I think in the clip, you're doing that. You're sort of saying to them, look, let's keep your head up.
Yeah.
Like, there's still a lot of games to play, and I think a player of yourself who, who's built such a relationship with these fans, that was so important, wasn't it, to get that message across and know that we're not down and out. We're going to keep fighting, and eventually, we showed that our strength and mentality, didn't we?
100%, and it's just a message me trying to tell them it's not over yet. There's games to be played, and individually I'm a fighter, and I will do everything I can to pull us out. And I know, looking around from the gaffer, who came in after, and all the players that we had, their stories. We're fighters. We ain't gonna let this go easy. So don't give up on us yet. And I'm glad that they didn't, because I never really felt they did give up. I know there were a lot of concerns, and understandably so, because the results wasn't giving them hope. But we pulled through in the end, and I'm glad we made it through.
Yeah, and we obviously before this we'd just done our pre-match interview ahead of the Colchester game this weekend. You said in there to a journalist that the club's in a good place now. After what was a turbulent season, Scott's come in, he's really settled the ship. We're playing some nice attacking football, which obviously benefits yourself. We've seen scored another few good goals earlier on this season. Compared to last year, and over your time, how happy are you that the club was, able to secure Football League status? Because we know it means a lot to you.
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, I love this club, just as much as the fans. And like I said, to stay up was massive, a big deal. And now I'm not only happy for myself, but for all the fans who can, enjoy a Saturday or a Tuesday night. When they pay money to come, they want to be entertained. They want to enjoy, what they're watching. So I feel like we're in a good place. We know the improvements that we need to make, but it's definitely a massive step from last year, and I'm happy that the fans can come and actually enjoy the games and really get behind the team and believe that we can win every single game, because that's what we feel.
Yeah, and I want to touch on what you said about how how much the club means to you, because it's not uncommon in football for players to arrive at clubs, not stay for very long, and move on. And I don't think at many other clubs it's like it is here at Crawley, where a staff base, I touched on it earlier, like I've been here for pretty much the same amount of time that you have. Yeah. So we've all sort of gone on a journey together. Like the off-field team is obviously it changes on the playing side, but the off-field team very much stays the same. The fans at clubs like of our size stay the same. It's the same faces that are going through these good times and bad times together. And do you think that's had a big impact on your time here? And perhaps one of the reasons that you have stayed for over 100 appearances, just on the basis of the feeling you get playing for the fans, and also just the group that we've got here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what I think of you. I think you're top, and a lot of the staff here. You got Claire behind, and there's so many people here. Who are the unsung heroes that I get to see. Day in, day out. Well, not every day. Even I don't see all the work, but just seeing you guys. You are great characters. It's a real family club. And it's something that I really, really like. They notice, when things are not so well, and you get an arm around the shoulder, and you get to be picked up by you guys. So it's great. It's been a pleasure, working beside you guys the past few years.
Yeah, and it is a family club, and that extends to the fans as well. When you signed, did you ever think that you'd be able to build such a special relationship with a group of people? Because it's not always common in football.
No, I didn't. I'll be honest. It was the best surprise ever. Not only with yourselves but with the fans, and I didn't expect that, because I haven't heard it much in football. It doesn't really happen. So, to be able to say that I've got that, with the fans and with the staff, like it's great. It's a great feeling. It's something that I'll never forget, and it's nice because it keeps you always connected. And like I said, I'll always forever be connected with this club.
Yeah, and it's good because obviously we have a lot of the younger fans who, I mean, it's like you would have been there as well as I, that when you're younger, you have your heroes, and the ones, we're seeing now that a lot of younger fans are starting to come to the games, which is great for us as a club. And, they're all buying their shirts, and we've seen a lot of Tsaroulla 25s on the back. I don't know if that's something that you've noticed, especially this season. There seems to be a lot of Tsaroulla ones, and it must be a special feeling that even someone at your age, they know the history that you've had with the club, and, it must be a pretty special feeling.
It is. I think it goes beyond football. I'm glad that they like me as a player and I can entertain them. But you know, I think if people have read the story, they can also be inspired. So, you know, when I walk down and I see a kid with a Tsaroulla 25 shirt, it's the most surreal feeling, and you know, it just gives me that extra boost and makes me really want to play well that day. You know, more than I already did. So it's a true blessing, and I'm grateful for those. And
yeah, and I suppose at the stage of your career that you are now, like, you've still got such a long career ahead of you. Obviously, we're all hoping, you know, obviously touch wood, but it goes back to the achievement of 100 appearances. To do it at this age when you've still got, you know, potentially such a long career ahead of you, it must be nice to sort of tick that one off. And it's also good for you because it shows not just us but other clubs as well that, you know, the loyalty goes a long way, doesn't it?
Yeah, you know, loyalty, availability, you know, those are all the traits that, you know, people want, and it's something that I want to continue giving for the rest of the season. You know, touch wood. Obviously, there's always things that you can't control, but all you can do is focus on the things that you can control. And I feel like that's what I've been doing the last few years. And you know, it's slowly all built up and it's paid off, and it's just, you know, a really, really pretty proud moment.
Yeah, and a cliche way to end the interview would be to say, "Oh, Nick, here's to 100 more." But again, in the pre-match that you just done, you summed it up brilliantly.
Yeah.
It's not about looking ahead because, as you just said there, football is unpredictable. You never know, you know, where you're going to be, you know, what the next day holds. So I suppose this is a great opportunity to look back on these memories, but also just focus on what's going on in the present. Yeah. And at the moment, it's just, you know, a sense of great achievement, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You summed it up perfectly there. No point looking ahead. Future's unknown. You know, the past is something that we can reflect on, learn from, you know, be proud of, you know, the achievements that as a collective and as an individual, you know, we've achieved. And no one can take those past, you know, achievements away from me or the club. But the most important thing is staying where you are, and you know, 2 feet are here. I'm enjoying this interview right now. I'm enjoying, you know, playing for this club, working hard in training, and I think that's the most important thing. You know, enjoying what you're doing right now in the moment.
Yeah, and as you say, we don't know what the future holds, but what we do know is, you know, you've had a great 3 years here. Yeah. It's, you know, from my side, and I'm sure the fans will echo it, it's been a pleasure watching you grow and, you know, develop into the player that you are now. And, you know, just congratulations on your 100 appearances.
Thank you very much. Thank you.